I talked about this a little bit last night on stream, but it wasn't until this morning that I really grasped the magnitude of the CS2 update and subsequent market crash. It's like I've wandered into the aftermath of an alien invasion. It is just a catastrophic disaster in the skins marketplace. And I think a lot of you have probably seen the headlines where basically overnight after a CS2 update, the skins market lost over $1 billion in market cap. I imagine most of you know how big CS2 skins are, but just in case there's any octogenarians out there that don't know, in Counter-Strike there are cases and there are skins, and your skins have real-world value where you can sell them on the marketplace for real money. It's a huge industry, billions of dollars, and yesterday there was a change to the way trade-ups work, which allowed people to trade up to knives, meaning knives, the most valuable items, for the most part by and large, were going to be easier to get. It also applies to gloves in-game as well, so since knives and gloves are no longer as rare as they were, their value has dropped significantly pretty much across the board. It's looking like fucking Ubisoft stock here with this plummet. So while the value decreased on the rarest items in the game, knives and gloves, the value on previously very cheap items fucking 1000x'd. Like, I'm exaggerating a bit, but like 20 to 30x'd. So on some cheap red items, they went from like $2 to $40 immediately following this announcement. And it is just crazy the effect that this update has had on the market. It really is crazy the effect it had on it. I almost feel like if Valve came out and said, hey guys, we're shutting down Counter-Strike next week, it probably wouldn't have affected the market this drastically. This update has had such a significant effect on the CS skins marketplace. It is nuts. Now I want to show you a couple of clips from other content creators that have been covering this because it is just fascinating.
Valve announced they were now letting anybody exchange 5 of their covert items for a singular knife. If you somehow don't know anything about Counter-Strike, basically you open loot crates for a chance at rare guns and knives. Knives often selling for thousands of dollars, sometimes even tens of thousands of dollars, with the odds of pulling a covert item being about 0.64% and the odds of pulling a knife being about 0.25.
That's kind of the gist of how this works now. So previously some of those covert items were very cheap. Now a lot of them are very expensive since you can trade up into a knife. And well, the people that had been, accumulating a very valuable CS inventory, they lost a lot of value there because of this. Except for like the very rare few that were hoarding reds in their inventory, they make out like fucking kings here because, like I said, all of that is kind of like 20 to 30x. But for people that just want a knife, now they have a cheaper way of getting one. So there's been a big fiery debate here on whether or not this was good for the game or bad, because from the perspective of the collectors and the people that buy and sell skins, it's devastating. But for people who just like play the game and like casually want to enjoy skins, it's pretty helpful to them. So right now, from everything I can see, the community's kind of split down the middle on whether or not this is like an overall net positive to like, sink the CS skins marketplace, which does have a lot of degeneracy with all like the CS gambling sites and all of that, in order to make it more accessible to people, like financially accessible to them to get these rare skins and stuff. So it's been like really back and forth on it, and it is interesting to see. Over $1 billion has been lost on the market cap from this update, but there are some people celebrating it and some people like actually feeling like their lives have been ruined by it.
Well, because knives were now much easier to obtain, the entire market for Counter-Strike skins plummeted, and as of right now, $2 billion has been lost from what was originally a $6 billion market cap in the last 12 hours or so. Popular Counter-Strike creator Anomaly showing knives had all plummeted over 50 to 70% in value, whilst covert items had skyrocketed, with some even going up 1000% in value, as you could now trade these for knives. People were celebrating shortly after the update that they were able to turn 5 cheap covert skins into a $3,000 knife, whilst others tweeting they were going to off themselves, and some subreddits even posting hotline numbers because of the news.
I wasn't exaggerating when I said there are some people that actually do feel as though their lives have been ruined from this, because this market is so big, people have actually invested blood, sweat, tears, and come into it, like financially all in, balls deep on CS skins. So when the inventory that they've accumulated through all of these years worth of like pumping it and putting tons of money into it now just like crashes overnight. A lot of people have felt as though it's like, a disaster that they can't recover from. And as Dolan mentioned, people that had red items, like $5 worth of red items, trading up to a previously $3,000 knife, they're excited. Like, this just shows how divisive the change is here.
Into one knife. Now this is for stat track and this is for regular. This is absolutely insane. It's already wreaking havoc on many aspects of the market. You can look at something like the Starlight Protector was just a couple dollars, and now instead we're looking at something that's upwards of $50, $60. It went from $2 to nearly $45 in just the span of a couple hours. It is also wreaking havoc in other areas of the market. If we want to look at this M9 Bayonet Doppler, remember this was a $2,000 to $3,000 cash skin, now a buy order for less than 1,000 Steam dollars, which is like 750 USD, and it's in a near free fall right now.
There's just a couple of quick examples here from some items that have been hit hard and some that have been really boosted hard. Now, another thing that it had a huge effect on is not just the items themselves, but the cases. The cases are, from what I can see, for the most part, going way up in price because now there's more valuable items in there, as these previously, like, very low value items have absolutely popped the fuck off. They're going ballistic right now, which means the cases are also getting a big bump here in their price. Now, again, it's only been like a day, so it's hard to know how long the market will be in this like downward trajectory because of this, or if it'll start to like stabilize or even bounce back and, recover and go up. I have no idea. It's still very fresh. This is all very new. And I'm not the biggest CS skins guy. I don't do a lot of case opening or anything like that. I'm just not really a big skins guy in any game. But from my limited understanding here, with my little Neanderthal noodle, I can't imagine knives will ever get back to the value that they were, because now you have a much more reliable and cost-efficient way of getting knives. I don't see how they will get their value back to the levels that we had previously seen with these outrageously high numbers in the thousands upon thousands of dollars. I feel like with this system in place, assuming they don't change it or do some kind of like tweaks or overhauls, if it stays exactly as it is, I really don't see how knives will bounce back to their previous heights. But who knows? I'm obviously not an expert in this field, and I've seen some people weighing in that they believe this could eventually be a net positive, where now, even though knives, gloves, all that have lost a lot of value, the gap in the market will be made up for by the reds. Like, I've seen people speculating, but right now that's all you can do is just kind of speculate to see what happens next. This is a huge change, and it feels like, at least to me, that the reason behind this change was Valve wanting to make knives more accessible to normal players that aren't engaging in the CS stock market here. So that way they could actually get their hands on some of these knives without needing to fork over thousands upon thousands of clams for it, or, going to like gambling sites or whatever. Because getting them through crates, it's very low odds. And it seems like maybe Valve wanted to try and, get everyone on the same playing field with ability to access these items. And in doing so, decimated the stock market, which maybe they want to do. Maybe they're tired of CS skins being a stock market and that kind of thing. I don't really know. What I do know, though, is that this was a huge change. And I'm going to definitely be keeping my peepers on it to see what happens with the market going forward. Anyway, that's really about it. Yeah.